Let us continue now, Be'ezah Hashem, the halachas of Shnayim, Mikra, and Targum. We started this yesterday, how gewaldig this mitzvah is, how it really teaches us, as we started off yesterday, the idea of taking Torah in pieces, of the ability to finish something even though it looks unfinishable. Is that a word, by the way? Is that a word? Unfinishable. It is, right? No, we're allowed to make our own words. But anyway, just in case it wasn't a word, it's a word. You can finish the whole Torah. You take it into little pieces. In fact, there was a bacha, a very chashuv bacha, who yesterday, soon after Shea, he's like, that's it. Shnayim, Mikra, Targum, open up a Chumash, and off he went. That's gewaldig. That's the way to do it, by the way. Before the Yitzhak says, nah, not this week. You already started already. Start next week. You don't want to start this week. Rabbi side, today, Shnayim, Mikra, Targum, all the scholars that we said yesterday, Arichas Yomim, the Gemara says you want a long life. This is it. Unbelievable Yiras Shamayim that a person can get. Shnayim, Mikra, Targum. In fact, by the way, there's an Modig Lechem Chamudois. The Lechem Chamudois says that there was a three-part system when the Torah was read b'tzibur. Number one, a person, as we know, was called up to an aliyah. That's even nowadays. But in the olden days, there was another part. That was someone standing next to him that was actually making sure there was no mistakes. And number three, there was a maturgim. That was someone who was translating it. Which is why the Indian would be Marba Sedra is twice the Pasuk and once the Targum to sort of like represent, sort of right, to do that again. So that's really what's going on by Shnayim Mikra ve'echad Targum. It's a gewaldige mitzvah, as we said yesterday, from the Gemara in Brachos. It is a skul of Arichas Yomim, the Rosh. It's like reading Kriya Shema. It's a chiyuv in Shulchan Aruch. So like every other chiyuv in Shulchan Aruch, we try to do it. This one also. Let's begin now with some of the halachas. After all, we can't just learn the inyadim. We have to know the halachas. Eli, what do we do? How do we do it? That's what's important. Okay? Danny, are you with me? Yes. Gewaldig. Let's start, Rabbi Say, when does the obligation begin? Okay, when does the obligation begin? By the way, you know when you get a message and you got your, what's it called, the AirPod? What's it called? AirPod. You got the AirPod in and you get a message and it tells you who sent you the message. Like you got a message from whatever, Menachem, you know what I'm saying? So when you sent me a message this morning on the way to Yeshiva, it tried really hard to say your name. It did not manage to say your name. It did not do justice to your name, let me tell you. It couldn't figure out the Schreibenschade part. It just didn't work. Anyway, I'll go upon him. So the question is, when does the chiyuv of Shnayim Mikra ve'echad Targum work? You asked for it. When does the chiyuv of Shnayim Mikra ve'echad Targum start? When does it begin? Can I do now for 2 weeks? Can I sort of pack it in today? And for the whole Sefer Bereshis, I'll just do it right now. I'll spend 2-3 hours. We'll finish all the way to the end of Sefer Bereshis and we're yaitza. So the answer is, first of all, no. Because the Gemara says clearly, you're meant to be mashlim im hatzibur, together with the tzibur. So the chiyuv, the Shulchan Aruch tells us this, Reish Beis Siv Gimel, the chiyuv actually begins after mincha on Shabbos Kodesh. So after Shabbos Kodesh, when you have mincha, so mincha you normally read the parsha Yida for the next week, right? So last Shabbos Mincha, right? We read Parshas, Baruch Hashem, the camera does not show who gave the answers because that would be pretty embarrassing. It read Parshas. Very, very good. So on Shabbos Mincha, we read the Parsha that's coming up next week. Sug the Shulchan Aruch. That's when the chiyuv, that's when you can start doing Shnayim Mikra from Mincha of Shabbos Kodesh. Now, when is the best time to do Shnayim Mikra? Of course, you can do it any time. And any time is gewaldig. Actually, we'll talk about night. Maybe tomorrow we'll talk about doing Torah at night. Maybe tomorrow we'll discuss that. But before we get to that idea, which is an idea which not do Shnayim Mikra, I'm talking about learning Torah at night, or specifically Mikra at night. But I'll upon him. When is the best time to do Shnayim Mikra? I want to do the best time. If I'm going to do the scholar, let me do it mahadrin, mina mahadrin. Let me do it properly. I'm one of those machmirim people. You know those machmir people? You know those people that look for like every chumrah? You know what I'm talking about? Sure, you know what I'm talking about, right? Those people that are machmir for everything. You know, they like 2 candles of Hanukkah on the second night of Hanukkah. They're like on the third night, they're like 3 candles, because like machmir, mahadrin, mina mahadrin. You mentioned Hanukkah this morning, so it just got me thinking already. We're holding about the Chanas of Hanukkah. Well, upon him, I want to do it properly. How do I do it? What is the best time to do Shnayim Mikra? Yaakov, you have the answer? Okay, so here's the answer by saying. The best time is on Erev Shabbos. Some hold before Chatzos, and some hold after Chatzos. The Magen Avraham brings the Shla Kodesh that says that the Shla Kodesh did it dafka after Chatzos, after he cut his nails, but before the mikvah. That was the Hanhoga of the Heilige Shla Kodesh. However, the Vilna Gaon seemed to be Machadash something that it seems to be, that was the widespread minig of most people, which is what it is now, and that is to split up the Torah into sections. Kaf HaChaim talks about doing after Shacharis with your tefillin on and talis, whatever, Al Pi Kabbalah, lots of inyonim. But Al Kapanim, the Vilna Gaon said what he did, and what most people nowadays do, is they take the parsha and they split it up into sections, and each day do another section to make it manageable. Not because the Vilna Gaon needed it manageable, but for us, Yankee, we need it manageable, and therefore we split it up. By the way, what do most people do when it comes to Shnayim Mikra? The Olam knows, right? How do they split it up? Bunim, why do they split up Shnayim Mikra? Like, how do you figure out what the section is? Oh, by the Aliyah. Says Bunim, very good. That's what most of the Olam do. The Aruch HaShulchan says, where does that come from? Says the Aruch HaShulchan, well, Aliyahs are very nice for, calling someone up for an Aliyah. What's it going to do? Shnayim Mikra v'chatargum. So really, the Aruch HaShulchan said what you should be doing is not the Aliyahs, is the samach or the pays. Look in the Chumash. You'll see a samach or a pay. That's called the end of the section, end of the paragraph, the end of the perek, whatever it may be. Mimela, that's really what you're meant to be doing. Now, if you do the ways of the Aliyahs, you also yaitza, vadu yaitza. But again, L'chatchila, the Aruch HaShulchan says to do it through the samachs and the pays in that case. Now, by the way, if you did not manage to do it, and Shabbos comes in, oy vavoy, what are you going to do? So the poskim say you can do it Friday night, or even Shabbos morning before you go to shul. If you didn't even manage do it by Shachas, you could do it before the Suda. In fact, by the way, there is a medrash. Tosfos brings this in Masechtos Brachos Daf Ches. Tosfos brings a medrash that tells us that one of the three things that Rebbe instructed his children to do before he died. Okay, so Rebbe gave a tzavah to his children. Three things that they have to make sure. Tosfos brings the medrash. Look it up in Brachos Daf Ches. One of them, there were three. One of them is not to start the Shabbos Suda until there be Mar B'Sedra, unless it's going to prolong and prevent the Suda from eating before Chatzos, because Avadi want to eat before Chatzos. But otherwise, from that, Tosfos bring the medrash that tells us it's meant to be done for sure before the Suda. Bidi Yeved. If it wasn't, you have till Tuesday, like Havdalah. So, by the way, today's Monday. So if you chap that you didn't do Parshas Lech Lecha, chap around this morning, you can still do it. Taik Havdalah, you can still do it till Tuesday. And if you really are stuck, which by the way is a real b'di'eved, you should not do this Lechatchila, is you've got until Simchas Torah. Okay, but again, you're not meant to prolong it. The poskim say in that case, it's only if it happens to be, but if you dafka left away, there's no tashlumim. So you've got until Simchas Torah, but really you've got until Tuesday, or you've got until Suda Shabbos in that case. Interesting halacha, by the way. The Kitzur Shulchan Aruch brings us, the Mishnah Berurah brings it, Be'er Eitiv also, is try not to be mafsik. No interruptions when you're doing Mar B'Sedra, all right? You're opening up the Chumash, Parshas Vayera, let's go. No interruptions. No one should talk to you. As I state in the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, the Mishnah Berurah brings it as well. No interruptions. Ask the Aruch HaShulchan, why not? Why can't you make an interruption? Is there a bracha over here? If there was a bracha, I understand. I'm making a bracha on something, don't interrupt in the middle, I get it. No bracha. So, Stam, you're learning Torah. So just like you're not allowed to interrupt any learning Torah, you're not allowed to interrupt Torah. What's a special din by Shnayim Mikra v'chatargum? That's what the Aruch HaShulchan says. So Aruch HaShulchan, the Maisa ends off saying it's not really la halacha that you can't have a hefsek. You can. Of course, you're not meant to have a hefsek because you're in the middle of learning Torah. Don't be mafsek anything because you're in the middle of learning. But upon him, Reb Shlomo Zalman and others said anything that you're allowed to be mafsik for Torah, of course you're allowed to be mafsik for Shnayim Mikra. But again, the Chofetz Chaim in the Mishnah Berurah says Toiv v'yofa ma'oid. Lashon of the Chofetz Chaim. Toiv v'yofa ma'oid. Good and very good. Maybe that's translated as not to be mafsik, and he saw medacting and who were very makpid on that case. Okay, Rabbi say. We've still got a lot to do, that's the truth. We've still got a lot to do. I think maybe what we'll do is, we'll stop here and we'll continue tomorrow, because what I want to discuss now is the methods. How do people do it? Meaning, you read every pasuk, you read the whole parasha and then do the Targum. What if I don't want to do Targum? I want to do Rashi. What if I don't want to do English? All of these things. Do I have to understand what I'm saying? A lot of different shaylas. In Mitzvah Hashem, tomorrow, Bli Neder, we'll try to continue and maybe even finish all of the halachas. Have a wonderful day, Rabbi Shnai. Shnayim Mikra, Ve'echat Targum. Shkoyach.